Good afternoon. My name's Dr. Susan Plank, and today we're going to be discussing blood sugar, hemoglobin A1c, insulin resistance, and the effects it has on your weight. So let me get over here to my presentation. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send them over. I'd love to answer them without a doubt. So again, weight loss and healthy food choices, we really need to understand blood sugar and insulin levels. Now, I'll tell you, all weight loss starts with food. Food is the foundational issue. But right with food, we have a couple of issues. One is the food, no matter how healthy you think it is it inflammatory to you? You can't guess this. You only have to do an elimination diet, meaning you have to take it out of your diet. You can't eat any of it for an extended time, or more convenient but more expensive, you get tested, and therefore you just know what you should stay away from. So that's one aspect involving food. The other aspect is folks not necessarily realizing what they're eating is causing that blood sugar to go up over time, or it's causing insulin resistance that they've never been tested for. So again, with food, we have two separate things. What foods can you eat, even though they're the healthiest? It could be salmon. I just had to tell somebody today that they couldn't eat salmon because it was inflammatory for them. So we need to know what foods, because otherwise, if you're eating the wrong foods, if you're trying to do keto and you're sensitive to dairy and chicken, and that's all you're eating, guess what? Keto's not going to work for you. You're not going to lose the weight. And then, like I said, the other aspect that we're going to focus on today is blood sugar levels. So glucose, hemoglobin A1c, which is glucose over time, your blood sugar over time, about 3 months, 90 days, and also your insulin levels. So again, weight loss, it is multifaceted. And again, blood sugar, hemoglobin A1c, blood sugar is a moment in time. If I fast tonight and I go tomorrow morning, I can get my blood sugar taken. And it's going to be more or less reflective of what I've eaten over the last 72 hours or 3 days. If I had a birthday party to go to and I had a couple glasses of wine and I had some birthday cake and I had some ice cream, and even though the rest of my life I'm a wonderful good girl eating, my blood sugar is going to be elevated just because of those choices I made in that 3-day period. If, on the other hand, which isn't typically done, but which I do with my labs, if we look at the hemoglobin A1c, we're now getting an average of that blood sugar over 90 days. So now, instead of just being dependent on what you had to eat or what you did in the 3 days before, we're getting an average. So honestly, if you're watching what you're eating and you're really doing the best you can, and that's going to be reflective when we get a longer average, and that's that hemoglobin A1c. And then insulin is very important because it's a hormone that will actually be released from the pancreas. It binds to a glucose blood sugar molecule, and that is how the blood sugar actually moves into the cell. If there is not enough insulin, if the insulin is it's too much, if there's not enough, if there's any problem between those two, the glucose molecule and the insulin molecule, if they can't bind, they're not going to be able to make it through the cell membrane. So therefore, we start to see folks with higher blood sugar levels, the insulin levels start to be higher, and yet they are really fatigued. They're really dragging, and especially after they eat, and specifically carbs. So let's dive into this and get some good information out there. My weight loss magic number is 84. If you pull out your lab results, look at the glucose. As long as you did it fasting, meaning you didn't have anything to eat, you can't, chances are if you pulled out one from last year and it was taken at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it wasn't done fasting. So we want it that it has to be done fasting. What is that number? We want it as close to 84 as possible. For every point over 84, it increases your risk of becoming diabetic by 6%. Okay, for every point over 84, it increases your risk ultimately of becoming diabetic by 6%. So if someone has 100 fasting glucose level, okay, 100, and say they have 30 pounds or more to lose, they actually, when we calculate that out, so 100 minus 84, you get 16. 16 times 6 is 96. So you have a 96% risk of becoming diabetic. So we tend to see these markers, they don't just usually go by themselves where the blood sugar goes up and the insulin doesn't do anything and the other risk factors for heart disease don't do anything. Typically, as that blood sugar is increasing, as it's going higher in the 80s and then into the 90s and then on up from there, sort of with each time it's increasing, not only is your diabetic risk increasing, but the weight that you're carrying around, because that higher blood sugar is going to be stored as fat. And that is the weight we have to get off. That's the weight we have to break this cycle of the blood sugar insulin just sort of creeping up over time, because otherwise that's what we're seeing. High blood pressure, we're seeing cholesterols well over 200, higher hemoglobin A1Cs, and like I said, the weight just sort of comes on, and it's a stubborn weight, hard, awfully hard to get rid of, if not impossible, if we don't have a better hold on that blood sugar. So these are sort of the steps I see of what happens when we're starting to gain weight. Now, again, I look at a lot of different markers, because it's not just all weight gain is related only to food. It's not. We have food, and then we have what's affecting your metabolism. So one thing that I like to really explain is this food portion, because that's empowering to you, the individual. What's going on with your metabolism, that tends to involve labs. So we need to check hormones and stress hormones and the thyroid and you know, liver enzymes and nutritional status, B12 levels and things. What's going on? Do we have deficiencies and imbalances that's putting a drain on your metabolism? So in this way, we can sort of start to separate these things a little bit, looking at dietary choices in food, and then over here looking at other things, because that still puts a drain on the metabolism, but these other things we can sort of separate then. Okay, so dietary choices, increased sugar is a big thing, honestly. A lot of sugar, folks. Even if you think, again, you're eating healthy, if you're really going to town with fruit, you'll be surprised at how the sugars in fruit will add up, and that still matters. If you are sensitive to sugar, if your blood sugar is creeping up, it doesn't matter where the source of the sugar is, and even natural ones like fruit, it is going to start to become a problem for you. So again, dietary choices: more sugar, more starches, maybe more fruit, baked goods, chocolate, candy. What's your vice? What's your vice? Because chances are, you know, it's going to drive up your blood sugar. And then that higher blood sugar over time makes that pancreas keep working, keep pumping out the insulin. That's when we get that screwy relationship between the glucose and the insulin, and that ultimately is what leads to insulin resistance. So blood sugar, it is the energy content of food. We eat food, and once our stomach digests it and we assimilate it, we absorb it, it's floating around in our bloodstream as glucose molecules. So it is pure energy, but the thing with pure energy, it needs to be burned off. So if you're not burning it off, if you're not using it up out of the blood very quickly, minutes to maybe an hour and a half, if you're not burning it off, it's getting stored. And it's going to continue that process of the higher the blood sugar stays, the more it wants to store things, and it's going to store it as fat. Okay. If we can keep that blood sugar in a lower level, where what's going in is feeding the body, it's the pure energy source for the body, and the body's mechanism, just by existing, breathing, the heart pumping, is burning this energy that you're eating. Well, now you're coming up where you don't have this excess of blood sugar in your veins, in your arteries. So where's blood sugar come from? Carbohydrates. So you heard carbohydrates, but what does that mean? Because if you have any understanding at all, you know that not all carbohydrates are the same. So we have natural sources, and then we have some iffy gray area ones, and then we have the man-made ones, which, you know, if you want to lose weight, you're having a blood sugar problem, insulin resistance, you have to stay away from. So carbohydrates, fruit, okay, sound great. Sweet potato, hey, that's all natural. Corn, potatoes, those are great, right? You're thinking those are great, they're all natural. And then we have other starches. I know I should stay away from those. Pasta, baked goods, right? And then we have man-made. I sort of call them unfoods because they might add flavor, but they don't have a lot of nutritional value. In fact, they pull us down more than help us up. And that's going to be sugar and soda. So what we're seeing here then on the right of the screen is you're actually seeing what happens to your blood sugar level when you eat these different things. So vegetables tend to be higher in fiber. They don't tend to have a lot of sugars in them. So you're going to get a little bit of a spike, okay? With fruit though, fruit's pretty much just the opposite. And those of you that love to put a banana in your morning smoothie, you're getting sort of all sweetness there with no fiber. So fruit, the more ooey, the more gooey, the more ripe where it's running down your arm, that's all sugar. The more ripe fruit is, the more sugar content it has. And so you're going to get a higher spike here. Now we get into the natural starches. And so natural starches are the sweet potatoes, the corn, and the potatoes, right? We can grow them. They're natural. We think they're good for us, but not if you are carb sensitive. And by carb sensitive, I mean not if your blood sugar is over 90. If your blood sugar is over 90, you got to limit these things. I don't care that they're natural. I don't care that the fruit is natural. You got to start putting boundaries and limitations on how much of it you're eating. So with the natural starches, look at the blood sugar spike we're getting, okay, after consumption. And then once we get down to sort of the other man-made pasta, baked goods, sugars, sodas, the unfoods, that's where it just sort of goes off the chart. So if you have weight loss goals, if you have a blood sugar that's over 90, you have to seriously consider limiting these bottom two and potentially limiting the fruit as well. Again, there's a big difference between fruits that have more fiber to them than fruits that are pretty much all fructose or fruit sugar. So hemoglobin A1c is your blood sugar over time. Typically, it's over 90 days, okay? Again, this is not a test that's routinely ordered. It's usually done to see if someone is diabetic. The reality of it is I love ordering a hemoglobin A1c on every single client because then I have a comparison. I know, just like we started off the show, I know whether their blood sugar, they might be having more of those natural starches, more sugar. They might be having more of that consumption over a longer time than what they actually realize. And that hemoglobin A1c catches that and lets me know that information. So here we go. Here's typically what happens with the blood sugar and when you eat. So what will happen is someone eats a normal response. Somebody's going to eat and their blood sugar is going to start to slowly rise, okay? And we're going to go up here and it just sort of keeps going. And right in here is when insulin was released from the pancreas. And by the time the insulin gets there, now we're going to have it bind to it. And like I said, that glucose molecule now gets to normally go into the cell membrane. Through the wall, that compound of that insulin and that glucose molecules, they get to go into the cell wall. But here's what happened when we have diets high in starches, high in sugars of any kind over prolonged time, is you can see then where we're starting here in the yellow, it doesn't even really come back to normal. It doesn't reach that sort of threshold in the morning of being lower. And so when somebody eats, if they eat breakfast and they have their banana and they have their fruit and they sort of back up the truck in their morning smoothie and it's all fruit, you start to see the blood sugar now rise very quickly here. So you see this start to rise very quickly. So this is their glucose level. And then it just sort of keeps going, right? It just keeps going up here to a peak. And what happened is if the longer this has been going on, if the person has been eating this way for decades, say, you know, they're a bread eater and they're having toast and jelly for breakfast with their cup of coffee. And then at lunch, they're having a sandwich. And then at dinner, they're having, you know, pasta or lasagna or bread, more bread and potatoes and starches. That's a lot of blood sugar and it's keeping it elevated the whole day. And it takes that much longer for the pancreas to produce enough insulin. It's trying to keep pumping out insulin and it has to keep going and going because the blood sugar keeps going up and more insulin has to be produced until there's enough to bind with those glucose molecules. And so we have this peak. And in reality, the person will feel good after eating all these carbs. So they never imagine that the carbs and the starches and the pasta and the breads and pies and all the other goodies, whatever it is, even fruit is making this, they just feel good. And then all of a sudden, it's like they hit the wall of energy. That insulin has been produced enough, and now you have an overshot of the insulin, and now they start to crash. They start to really physically and mentally crash. And folks, as they're crashing, that's that sort of hangry thing. So if you ever thought like, oh, man, if I don't get something to eat, I'm going to tear somebody's head off. I'm not going to be a nice person. Nah, right? That's the blood sugar crash. That's what's happening. So we want to return to a nice normal. We don't want to see these sort of peaks here. And so, like I said, insulin is a hormone that helps aid get that glucose molecule into the cells. That's the only way the cells are going to get the energy is it needs to bind with the glucose molecule and then the cell, sort of like a lock and key. Who's knocking at the door? If it's just a glucose molecule, nope. The bouncer inside that cell says, no way, go away. No way, go away. You're only glucose. And then, you know, here comes insulin. Nope, the bouncer, you don't get in. But if the bouncer looks out and sees a glucose and the insulin molecule standing there, they open the door. They unlock the door, in that goes to the cell, and now the cell has some energy. So this, I know your brain might be bugging out here, but hang in here with me, okay? So again, the blue is a normal. Someone eats, this is just what we just did. Their blood sugar starts to go up. Things are nice and steady, right? Blood sugar goes into the blood. It's all good. In a purple here, here's the normal insulin level, right? It stays low. The person eats, it stays low. As the person's blood sugar starts to come up, there's a little bit of a delay here in the insulin, right? It takes a little bit for the pancreas to say, oh, got to produce some insulin. And then as it does it, it starts to increase and you see it run right along and they're going to intersect beautifully and perfectly. Same level, they're just going to bind and go into the cell. Nice and easy, okay? But with the example of what we just did, like I said, with folks that are eating a lot of sugar, a lot of starches, a lot of carbs, if that blood sugar is over 90, right? 84 is my magic number. I want it at 84. If your routinely blood sugar is over 90 fasting, or it's higher than that, this is you I'm talking about. So your blood sugar is never even coming down to normal. It's not getting down to that 84 level. It's already starting higher You're going to have your banana smoothie or your toast and jam and your coffee or just a banana as you fly out the door to go to work, any of those. And now you get into this vicious cycle. Up goes your blood sugar, right? Here comes your insulin. It's already out of the gate, right? It's not anything slow and steady about this at all. The blood sugar's peaking, the insulin level's going crazy, again, because this has happened so many times, every meal of every day for years, maybe decades. So your body is now just reactive. It's just pumping out insulin, and the blood sugar is just going crazy because of your food choices. So the blood sugar starts to go up, the insulin just pow, but it overshoots. And as it overshoots, now down, your glucose level crashes, your insulin level actually keeps going because it's overshooting. And as you start to crash, what do I say you feel? You get those hangry pains. I don't feel so good, nauseous, lightheaded, dizzy, brain fog. I got to put my head down on my desk. And so you're looking for anything, usually more sugar or stimulants, caffeine, cigarettes, nicotine, anything is sugar, alcohol if you can't, whatever is close. And it doesn't matter if you start off that morning saying, I got this, I am going to lose 3 pounds by the end of the week. If this is going on for you and you start crashing like that, you are going to be reaching for anything within arm's length because it's just your body's mechanism. It doesn't want to go without the energy. So as it's crashing, you're going to start eating, going back to, again, stimulants or sugar, just to drive this back up again. And now we have this insulin level sort of the crossing, and you just get into these highs and these lows, these very drastic and peaks and valleys. But it also leads to peaks and valleys in your energy, and peaks and valleys in your cognition, and peaks and valleys in just your sustained energy, your ability to go out and have fun, do some yard work. All of that can be compromised just because of what you're eating and how your body has learned to deal with your elevated blood sugar level. So again, everything here, the energy just really bottoms out when that blood sugar drops, and you're not going to feel very good, but it just starts the pattern all over again. So the solution is, like I said, I measure these things. I want to look at what is an insulin level. What is your insulin level? Do you have insulin resistance? What is your glucose level, fasting glucose? What's your hemoglobin A1c? So we measure. I want to measure the labs. We start with that. And then we also want to measure your starch and your sugar intake. So you can see here that what I do I use a smart technology, smart scale. And so part of that is people are going to let me know what foods they're eating. So whether it's sugars or starches, or whether it's more the natural carb intake like fruit, they're still going to enter it in, because chances are, from what I've learned from their labs, they are sensitive and their blood sugar's up there. So we need to start to track this reaction. So the other thing, what happens is, it creates a burden on the whole body, this blood sugar going up and down. And so when we can start to stabilize things, instead of those cells just getting bombarded all the time, they get to actually start to detoxify. We get to start to clean that blood sugar out of the blood. We get to have water come in and stay put in the tissues, because otherwise the cell membranes have become so resistant to things. We can't get the energy in, we can't get water in, we can't get hormones in there, right? If you've been suffering from PCOS or some other hormonal issues, you just can't get things into the cells, even though you'd swear to me, all I do is drink water. It's just not getting in there. It's going in and it's coming out, but it's not getting where it needs to be. It's in those cell membranes. So that's what we need to do here, is restore these healthy cell membranes. And all this develops with high blood sugar levels, and then elevated insulin or imbalanced insulin and insulin resistance. So we have to get these measurements. we have to know, what are we shooting for here, right? What is the calories that we're shooting for? Because if you're overshooting on that, boy, you're probably really struggling to get the weight off. So we want to know these numbers. It's a very scientific approach of what I have. We're not just going to, haphazardly do things. We're going to monitor, we're going to evaluate, and we're going to track. So what the result of that is now is we've stabilized those blood sugar and insulin levels. So the energy is more balanced throughout the day. It's not one of those like, oh boy, I just went to put gas in my car and now I need to take a nap, right? It's, yeah, you feel stronger. You get less cravings. More fiber, right? You got more fiber in you now. So more fiber, more water, things are going to move along a little bit better. The constipation. Also, with things moving along, this is how our body detoxifies and gets rid of hormones. We don't want hormones hanging around in the body, and it gets rid of them through our fecal material. So we want to clean up those cell membranes so hormones can get in, they can bind with the receptor, they can send the message that they're going to send, and then when they're done, we get rid of them. Okay. And it leads to more natural weight loss. It's not these, oh, I'm going to be a vegan, or oh, I'm only going to eat animal protein. It's, we have these extremes, and everyone's trying what happened for Aunt Betsy. And the reality of it is this is specialized, folks. Needs to work for you and your biochemistry. So we get the blood sugar to return to normal. We can usually do that really pretty quickly. And the hemoglobin A1c balance, insulin sensitivity improves. We still might have to watch. We might have to really watch the number of sugars and starches that are going in, but it's going to get dramatically better. And we're going to see cholesterol and triglycerides. There's a ratio I like to see there. We're going to see those numbers improve as well. So my name is Dr. Susan Plank. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I hope you enjoyed this glucose, hemoglobin A1c, and insulin resistance video. And I ask you, if you're wondering what your blood sugar levels are, if you're wondering if you have insulin resistance, reach out to me, right? Because a lot of folks, in trying to lose weight, they're stuck sort of wondering, well, what can I eat? How much can I eat? These types of things, calorie counting even. That's just not, it's not my focus. It's not where we're getting into, at least initially. We have to identify these biochemical, biometric markers. These are biometric markers of your health: blood sugar, insulin, hemoglobin A1c. We get those numbers, now we're set. We can start to develop a plan to address what we see in those numbers. So again, some foods could be inflammatory, but how are you handling the carbs and starches? And if you'd like to talk to me further, please, I invite you. Click here. Let's get you scheduled for a free laser consultation, right? Weight loss laser consultation. I want to hear what you've tried. I want to hear what's going on, what your concerns are, what your lab numbers are if you have them, and let's figure out a plan. I want you feeling better. I want you losing weight in the next 30 days. It doesn't have to be kicking the can down the road. Let's get a plan together and let's make this happen. All right, guys, thanks so much. God bless. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.